Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning. This is going to be a much shorter video, thank God. A big thank you to that one on Twitter for the picture above. I still don't know how they make those, but isn't that just fabulous? All right, we have a lot to cover in here, so let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're going to start off with Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. She visited the Robert Gordon University on September 17th. They were celebrating the centenary of the appointment of Margaret Barr Fulton as the very first qualified occupational therapist to work in the UK, having started her career in Aberdeen in 1925. Don't forget that Anne is patron of the Royal College of Occupational Therapists, and she spoke with staff from the university, representatives from NHS, and the local community services. Now, a few days before that, Princess Anne visited the Citizens Advice Bureau in Lowestoft for their 60th anniversary. Citizens Advice gives free and confidential advice on consumer rights, debt, housing, benefits, and, helps people understand their rights. And Princess Anne has been their patron since 1990. All right, next up, it was the day after the state dinner, and the Trumps and the king and queen got together and had these fabulous pictures taken, and then they split up. And the king went to say goodbye to Trump, and they went out there and they shook hands and they were talking. And then the press asked something of Donald Trump, and he looked at the press and said he's a great gentleman and a great king. And then he walked and got into his vehicle. Now, unless I'm mistaken, the limousine for Donald Trump is called the Great Beast. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's interesting the way they were able to isolate them at Windsor Castle so that they didn't have to deal with the protests and all the stuff that was going on, outside of the castle. Trump went for diplomatic talks at the Prime Minister's Grace and Favor residence. And Camilla and Melania had something that they were doing in the morning. So the Queen, who we know has a love for literature and reading, went with the First Lady to the Royal Library to view some literary treasures from the royal collection. One of the first items they viewed was Queen Mary's dollhouse. I mean, when you look at that, it's so intricate and small. Could you imagine a child actually playing with this thing? Camilla took the First Lady on a tour of the library. Doesn't that just, wow. That's one of those rooms that you could just lose yourself in. I mean, look at that. That's almost like something out of, Beauty and the Beast. Now, several objects with personal family ties were shown to the First Lady. There were miniature books, each less than 2 inches tall, tucked inside the famous dollhouse, which is a detail that quickly caught the attention of royal watchers. One was a contribution from Camilla's son, Tom Parker Bowles, who aptly titled it A Recipe Fit for a Queen. That was included in the set. Also there on display was the late Queen Elizabeth's copy of Alice in Wonderland. And the two of them also met some school children who were writing and illustrating their own miniature books as part of an art project. Now, at some point, Melania left Camilla and went off with Catherine, the Princess of Wales. They hosted scouts on the grounds of Windsor Castle during the final morning while they were there. Catherine organized a special packed lunch for the children. These kids were aged 4 to 5, and it had sandwiches made with honey from her home. There were 20 Squirrel Scouts, is what they were calling them, taking part in nature activities within the gardens of Frogmore House to earn their Go Wild badges. Now, Chief Scout Dwayne Fields was there, and he told the BBC that he chatted throughout the event with the First Lady and the Princess of Wales. The setting was grand, he said, and in all fairness, the 2 guests we had were very special. He also said that Melania and Kate were both very personable and spent a lot of time with the young people who took part in drawing and other activities. Now, this outing between Melania and the Princess of Wales is the very first time for both. So during this outing, Catherine was spotted sitting on the grass while she spoke with the kids about their art, and a little girl in the meantime took Melania's hand and led her to a table where other children were building bug hotels That sounds so funny. From cardboard and tubes. Show me how. Show me what I, can do. Melania was overheard talking to some of the kids. And when asked what her favorite bug was, she said, a ladybug. For those of you who don't know, Princess Catherine was a brownie as a child, and she's been joint president of the Scout Association since 2020. And we know that she's also cited nature as a source of support while she was going treatment for her cancer. They were actually in an area called Frogmore Gardens. It's behind Frogmore House, but still on Windsor Castle grounds. Now, they also did some really interesting things, like children pressed inked leaves onto paper, and then they added illustrations. One kid turned it into a Christmas tree. Just all kinds of really cool little arts and craftsy things that you do with kids. I have to tell you, it really does look from Melania's face like she is thoroughly enjoying hanging out with those kids. She's like Catherine. They both love children, and they both just really relate well to children. All right. So when that was over, the children sat around on some straw bales while the scoutmaster explained the day's activities. And then the children lined up to get their Go Wild badges, which Catherine and Melania presented. They congratulated each child with a handshake and applause, and two children then awarded badges to Catherine and Melania. Now, when this activity was over, it was understood that Melania was going to travel to, I believe it's pronounced Checkers, again, the Grace and Favor home, to join President Trump for the remainder of the day's program. I was watching, and I did not see anything else in the news about where they were, what they were doing, when they were leaving. I'm assuming that was done for security purposes. I don't believe that, since they said goodbye to the king and queen, that there really wasn't a whole lot left for them to do. I am glad to see Catherine out and about. She looks like she's having a great time. And her dress last night, I just can't get past that. All right, let's move on. We got something to cover here. Okay, so here's what happened. Apparently, when Donald and Melania Trump were greeted by Charles and Camilla, as well as Sir Clive Alderton, I showed you that the other day, when the president and the king decided to speak privately, Camilla and Melania followed with their own private conversation, and William and Kate approached them. William then joined Charles and Donald's conversation, and Kate joined Camilla and Melania's conversation. Well, what the video shows, that Camilla watched and looked around while Catherine and Melania were talking, and after a few moments, Camilla actually motioned for Kate to move with a sweep of her hand, which Catherine did before saying goodbye to Melania, and she stepped away to walk towards William. Camilla and Melania then spoke for a moment as the group stood in line, creating a path for the horse-drawn carriages to approach, taking them to Windsor Castle. So this moment, it was caught. Okay, basically Camilla shooed her away. I don't know what to say about that, but they are saying they're different in private, that Camilla is hesitant to pass her responsibilities to Catherine, who will succeed her as queen consort. So, Well, let's move on to the Harry Meghan stuff. What they're saying is that Harry, since his reunion with his father, he's really buzzing off the back of that meeting. And that Meghan is very concerned because it's taking his focus away from what she's trying to do in America, because he's clearly very homesick for England and desperate to build on the initial success. Well, he shouldn't have opened his mouth then and gave the interview that he gave, because I think he undid all the headway that he had. Now, Harry, of course, is insisting to Meghan that there's nothing to be nervous about, that it's a wonderful thing for the whole family, and they'll soon be dining at Buckingham Palace again and enjoying all the fruits that come with being royal, while still doing their own thing, as far as their service and career. But Meghan, they're saying, is very suspicious of the royal family. The truth is, when Harry is away from Meghan, he is like a different person. He does change his body language. A real smile comes to his face, not one of these fake forced things that he always does. And she has worked so hard to separate him from the family. I don't know how she's going to react if the family were to actually take Harry back. Not that I think they would. Now, this next bit, I don't believe at all. Supposedly, allegedly, Harry and Meghan are in negotiations over Archie and Lily's schooling because Harry wants the children to be educated in the UK while Meghan is against sending the kids to boarding school. But she feels sending the kids to boarding school is barbaric. Now, King Charles, they're reporting, is supportive of the children being educated in the UK, and there's still some negotiations going back and forth, and that this might have been something that was discussed with King Charles during their face-to-face meeting. But I gotta tell you something. There's absolutely no way in hell that Meghan Markle is going to go back to the UK. She hates the UK. Does anybody believe for 1 second that she would let those children out of her sight? Those children are her meal ticket. There's no way in heck those children are going to go back to the UK to live for school. It's just not going to happen. And I don't know who's coming up with these stories, but this is absolutely untrue. I mean, how are the kids supposed to go back when Meghan still has 2 major demands? And until they're fulfilled, she wants nothing to do with the family. She feels that the family have to be sufficiently nice to her, and she has to get a groveling apology for the past. And that's never going to happen. Now, if you can believe this, they're saying there's been a shift since Catherine got sick, and that Harry and Meghan do feel they need to extend an olive branch, but Meghan's sense of grievance is still preventing anything meaningful from happening. Like normally when somebody gets sick, it brings warring family members together, but no, that's not happening with Meghan because she cannot let the past go. All right, you guys, you know what I want. Put those comments down and make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.